Hello, this is Dan again. Previously we showed you the basic 4 functions on the oscilloscope, and I'd like to show you 2 other little features of our particular scope here in the Peralta Lab, room 103. Today I want to show you about the waveform generator that's in the scope. So that's a built-in generator for you. You of course can always use an external one, but there's one built in the scope. And the second thing is just using the measurement system in the scope. So previously you might remember how I showed you how to make measurements for amplitude and time in the scope. Today we'll see how just to turn on the measurement system in the scope. Okay, the first feature that I'd like to show today is how to turn on the waveform generator. So this particular scope has built into it a waveform generator, much like your signal generator that you have on your bench. To turn that on, all we have to do is press the waveform generator button. And in this case, you'll see that we have a sine wave come up. I have the output of the generator over here in the first position coming into my scope probe position number 1 so that we can see the waveform on the screen. Currently we have displayed there a particular sine wave. To change that waveform, there's buttons down along the bottom, and you'll see the first one says waveform sine. If you press that button, you'll see that there's a number of other settings that you can have. To get to those other settings, you can just rotate the knob here by the intensity, and you'll see it lit up with the green arrow. And you'll see that I can change it if I want to a square wave, a ramp wave, a pulse, any of these other different types of waveforms. Noise if I want it. So I'm going to leave it set here to sine, but if you need a different type, that's where you go to do that. If you would like to change the frequency of the generator on the sine wave, again, you can just press the frequency button, come back over to the same knob by the intensity with the green arrow on it here, and change this, and this will change it. You notice as I turn it, I'm changing the frequency of my particular sine wave, and it's also displaying that frequency count down here. I'm going to set it back to 1 kilohertz, or approximately 1 kilohertz down here in the frequency area. Okay? So we just adjusted the frequency for our particular waveform. We can also adjust the amplitude. So if I press amplitude, I use that same knob again, and you can see that I can make my signal larger or smaller by rotating the knob. So I'll set it back here to some point about where I had it. So that's adjusting the amplitude. And the other adjustment on the generator that you can make is called the offset. And this is the DC offset. We talked about that in the previous video, where if I want to actually see the amount of offset, I have to go back over to channel 1 on my scope and DC the scope in order to see the waveform move up and down. So you'll see now that I'm DC coupled. I had the scope set up that way, so when I turn it, I'm offsetting my AC sine wave on some DC voltage. And it reads what that actual offset voltage is right here on the display for you. Again, I'll set it back to a 0 offset here on this particular one. So that's the actual function generator, allowing you to set the different type of waveform, set the frequency, set the amplitude, and set the amount of DC offset. Now, in the previous video, you may remember that I showed you how to measure the amplitude manually. In other words, we counted the number of divisions, and then we multiplied that by the value for each division. Today, in my second function or feature of the scope that I'd like to show you is how to use the built-in measurement system. So over here in the measure area of the scope, there's a little button here called measure, and measure will bring up different measurements. And you'll see the measurements will get displayed. Currently turned on is the frequency and the voltage peak to peak for this particular sine wave. Okay, if I would like to add a measurement, besides just my frequency and peak-to-peak value here, I can come over here to the type and press the type button. You notice that it opens up another menu here of all the different types that measurements that we can make. So I can come over here with my knob again, where I adjusted the intensity with the little green arrow here, and I can rotate through the different types of measurements that we can have. You see this list is quite extensive here for the different types of measurement. So maybe I want to measure, for example, another amplitude. All I got to do is select that one and then press Add Measurement, and you'll see that measurement come in right over here on the screen for you so you can read that measurement off. If I want to add another one, I can go back to this adjust my knob. Maybe I want to add something like the period rather than the frequency. Again, I can just click add measurement. You'll see period get added on here. And you can add as many of these as you would like to, or as what's practical here on the screen for you to measure. So that's a real simple system that's in the built into the scope for adding measurements into your waveform. Again, I do not recommend using this if you're in a noisy environment. This works great when you have these nice clean signals and waveforms, but if you're in the field making measurements where there's noise involved, I would kind of avoid that and use the old proven method of counting the divisions and multiplying by the knob setting.